Call the meeting to order. Rise to the salute of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the board secretary has caused notice of this meeting, including date, time, and location, to be posted in the South Brunswick Public Library in the board office, filed with the township clerk, and communicated to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger. Mr. Pulaski, roll call, please.
Mr. Patrick Del Piano.
Here.
Mr. Raymond Keener.
Here.
Mrs. Joyce Mehta.
Here.
Dr. Stephen Parker.
Here.
Mr. Devin Patel.
Yeah.
Mr. Arthur Robinson.
Here.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti.
Here.
Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can I get a motion approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved. Make a motion.
Moved by Mr. Scaletti, second by Dr. Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Report from our student representative. Zoya, you got the screen.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I have a report for tonight. So on October 24th, members of our SB Earth Club, they participated in an ocean cleanup in Keensburg, New Jersey. So that's really cool. They do it every year. This year they had to contain the size a bit more, but they were still able to do that. So that's really nice. And Student Council this month was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we actually just had our lunch event today. Basically, and we asked questions about breast cancer and we raised awareness for it. We also had a whole community-wide painted rock campaign, which is like our Rocks of Kindness campaign, where people were encouraged to paint a rock with an inspirational message and a pink ribbon and drop it around the community. So if you do see a rock, if you're walking outside in your neighborhood, please look at it and just move it to a new location to keep the positivity going. So this week, Incredible Us, Youth to Youth, and the Public Health Club have been hosting a Red Ribbon Week. And it's been since the 26th, and it is ending tomorrow, actually. Tomorrow, they're ending it off with their big trivia night. And we encourage everyone to go check it out. They made a really great website with a lot of information and resources on raising awareness for drug abuse. So FBLA, they hosted a virtual pumpkin decorating party for their club members on October 23rd. And and I saw the pictures and posts on Instagram and it looked really great. People really showed up and it was really nice to see the school community still doing something, even though we're all virtual. JSA was actually hosting an outdoor movie night for tonight, but it got canceled because it is just pouring outside. So next week, it is rescheduled for next week, and it is going to be on November 2nd instead. So now I'm going to update everyone on what's going on with the athletics department. So on the 2nd, field hockey is playing against Saraville, and junior varsity football is playing against Old Bridge. On the 4th, field hockey is playing against South Plainfield, and on the 6th, football is playing against North Brunswick at 6 p.m. And again, only ticket holders are permitted to attend, and all the other fan rules that have been in place are applicable to this game as well. So high school winter sports season is coming up. It's kind of crazy. It's coming up so fast. And so paperwork needs to be dropped off for it. There's actually a drop box outside of the main entrance now, and you can drop off your physical and your sports paperwork from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you cannot do it. However, it is not available on weekends or school holidays. the deadline to drop off all of your information and your physicals has been extended to November 13th. So this is for the winter sports season, and the winter sports season itself is starting on December 3rd. The sport interest form needs to be completed on Genesis in order for you to participate. If you have any more questions or you need like any resources, please visit the athletic tab on the South Brunswick School High School website to get all that information. So that was tonight's report. Wasn't too long. And I'm just going to be excusing myself, actually. I have college applications due in 2 days, and it's not the best time. It's not a really good time right now. So yeah, I hope everyone has a great night. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Thank you, Zoya. Good luck on the papers.
Yes, good luck, Zoe. Moving along, report of superintendent, Mr. Fetter.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nathanson. I'm going to bring up one thing first, and then when I'm finished with the report, ask the board if they want discussion on it. And that is the concept of bringing back to in-person board meetings, starting our next board meeting, November 12th. To help you digest that, what that would look like is we would come up with the seating plan that would maintain social distancing. We would be at North, and it would be filmed. David would stay on his computer. It would be live streamed so that the families can still log in and participate in that manner, as well as people would be allowed to attend in person under a limit that we would impose a limit based upon the health conditions at the time. That could mean that people could be turned away once we reach a limit. It would not start the idea of bringing all the students back and having those events. We would not be holding those at this time, but it would be back to in person. We're bringing school back, bringing the board back. And again, David and I would work on the seating arrangement. Sharon Johnson, our director of technology, would work on the tech side. And we believe it would work fine. There'd be controls on the muting and all of that so that we would be able to manage that, but it would be relatively similar, minor adjustments, of course, to how we would sit, and we'd be working on that. So I'm not looking to comment yet, but when I'm finished, Mr. Nathanson, if you'd like to open it up for discussion, that would be a good time, okay? So I want to throw that out there.
Absolutely.
Questions, David or I will be able to help answer those questions, and we'll leave it to the board at that point. I want to bring up something that's a great thing that happens in October. It is actually National Principals Month. So to all of our principals, assistant principals, they are another group of people that have really been probably not sleeping very much in recent times, or maybe in the last 7 months. Like our teachers, our custodians, our secretaries, our paraprofessionals, and our nurses, and everybody in the district, this has just been a very trying time. And, the principals take a lot of that and just kind of tuck it away. And, how they don't all have ulcers right now, I don't know. Maybe they do have ulcers. I hope they don't have ulcers. But it's been a challenging time for administration as well as everyone else. So I want to give them a shout out and say thanks for all you do. District would not be what it is without all of you. And again, you are very appreciated, even though I'm sure sometimes you don't feel that way. But we thank you, and on behalf of the district, you're definitely one of our heartbeats, and we thank you for that. So I'm going to move off now to the topic of topics that has been the topic for who knows how long at this point. Very quick, I'm not getting into this too much, but reentry. I want to give the families and the board an understanding of what the next 2 weeks look like. Starting on Monday, November 2nd, and Wednesday, November 4th. For the most part, those are going to be asynchronous school days. We've asked the teachers to come back to school to start reacclimating, getting our technology set up, working with their administration and tech needs so that our rooms can be set up solidly, so that the next week they can go back to the normal instruction practices from the building so that everyone's raring to go once we get started, setting up their rooms with the technology as they need it, working from that location. It's a shift. So we'll be doing asynchronous work on those 2 days. Our special needs classes will be home those 2 days, working virtually. And that's how we're doing November 2nd and 4th. As you know, November 3rd is election day. There is no school. That is our parent-teacher conference day. For the most part, our staff will be home. They'll be doing their virtual conferences from home. Of course, they can use the school if they want, but we're not having parents come in. It's an opportunity to meet with their teachers as normal, but it will be done virtually. I have a feeling we might like to do this virtually come after this. So who knows? We might see that again next year, even if we're not in a pandemic. But at this point, that's how we're rolling it out. So next week, again, no school on Tuesday. School on Monday and Wednesday will be asynchronous. And we all know there's no school on Thursday and Friday for teachers convention in the state, which is still occurring. It'll occur virtually, but that will be ongoing. So there's no school Tuesday for kids, Thursday or Friday. And everyone will be home Monday and Wednesday asynchronously, meaning for the most part, they will not be live with their teachers. That's what that means by asynchronous. Some teachers might hop on live, but it's not an expectation for those 2 days. We really need our teachers to focus on their rooms, the acclimation, and the first step in bringing us all back safely and with a good educational program. The next week is normal. Won't be any change for the kids. And then on the 16th, we start back with our in-person learning. Our numbers are still about what we've told you the whole time. Our K-5 will be, pre-K-5 will still be 5 days a week. Our middle and high school will be on a black and gold cohort model. You should know if you normally get a bus, November 2nd, you'll be able to go online to Genesis and see your bus information. That will start on Monday, November 2nd. If people have questions about the cohorts, you'll be getting that information as well. If you have questions, please go directly to your schools. They're the best equipped to handle questions about schedules and all of that. Each school will be giving that information out if they have not done so already, so that everybody knows exactly what's going on and will be very well prepared for the opening days. A reminder to our families on the opening days, if you are sending your child in, there will be an absolute mandatory, you must fill out the questionnaire every day. You will get a reminder via email and via text every day. You might get some robocalls from me at night for a while. It is imperative that we follow the rules. Health and safety must stay number one. And you'll be hearing more about that as we get closer to the time. But that's pretty much where we are. We know what a big day is Saturday. It's supposed to be a little chilly, but of course that is Halloween. This year, of course, not your norm. So parents, make good decisions. We don't want to use these times for spreading the virus. Remember, most kids present asymptomatically, meaning you don't know they have it. And it's important to remember that through this entire holiday season, this is not the time to start bringing large groups of people together. Now, I'm not going to say don't have celebrations and don't be with family. I'm not saying that. That has been said. I'm not saying it. I'm saying be smart. Make smart decisions to keep your family safe. And we will do the same at the school level as we return. A reminder to our families, we've been open with lots of people in the schools every day. And while we have had cases, we have not had anything resembling an outbreak. That is due to the good work of our families and a great work of our district staff who've been managing this. We have a strong leadership team working on this. I give compliments to our nurses, and I'll never be able to stop. I don't think they're doing such an amazing job. And you'll be getting more information on a structure that we're putting in place to make sure all of the information is managed, all the communication is strong, but most importantly, that our contact tracing excludes people when they need to be excluded. That's important. So that's all coming down the pike. I want to talk about another topic about reentry that has been kind of a hot topic. I know it's been hot on Facebook. One of those where we're having two sides to the story. And I don't know why our community has trouble on Facebook disagreeing. Disagreeing is a part of life. It is okay to have two separate opinions on a topic. It does not need to be visceral. It doesn't. I don't know why that continuously happens on the South Brunswick pages. I don't know why. I will keep fighting back to say, don't do that. Students have presented a petition to the board, and the petition is about two main topics, but in general, it's about the earlier start time and about the amount of screen time. Basically, those are my two big takeaways. I unfortunately have to put an end to the conversation about the start time. There is no chance it's changing. There is no ability to change it. We've tried. I've tried. Our busing department has tried. It is not changeable. The pleas will not make it changeable. That doesn't mean, kids, you should not continue not fighting for what you want. Unfortunately, this one's kind of one of those brick walls, and it's not because we don't want to. It's because we can't. And that is a big difference, because I've read the petitions, I've received emails from students, and I can't say I disagree with anything. The reality is it's an actual immovable problem at this time. I do want to remind everybody that a 7:30 start when you're remote is still a little bit of a lax time than what you're used to, because in normal years, you have to be at school, and most people are getting to school by around 7 to 7:15. If you're anything like my children, you can roll out of bed at 7:25 and be ready for 7:30 classes. So again, I'm not claiming it's ideal, and I'm not asking you to stop fighting for what you believe is best. I will never do that, and I support your fight to getting what you think is best for you. What I can commit to is the concept of screen time, and try to continue to work with our district to figure out ways to limit that. But I do want to say, remote learning, I'm really not seeing many ways to say no screen time or less. I don't know how to do it. The problem is, even if there's less live screen time, almost all the work you probably do is screen time. That's kind of how it works right now. We're kind of stuck in a mode that no one wants. No one wants to be in this pandemic. I'm done with the pandemic. You're all probably done with the pandemic. But I can commit to work on figuring that out. I don't know what the figure out is. I don't have a solution for you today. And I hear your pleas, and I wish it wasn't so. I wish we had better solutions, but we don't. The concept of coming back to school for students that want to come back to school is not changing. That is happening. And we owe that to our families and our students. That doesn't mean it's better. It doesn't mean it's a desire of the world. Right now, we are usually looking at 2 solutions or 3 solutions to a problem. And what we generally talk about at Black Horse Lane, where our central office is all 3 of those solutions usually are not ones we like. I'd say for the most part, we don't usually like any of our solutions. But that's living in a pandemic. That's running a giant organization like a school district in a pandemic. I will say we're all trying to do our best. We want to work with our students. We value the input you're giving, and it's not going by the wayside. But I do have to be clear and say I can't solve the start time. There's no solution for us right now. I think what you might want to do is continue the fight and keep working on education in general to move the start time of high school to a later time at some point. I will tell you, I don't know if I've shared this before, in my first year or my second year here, we led, myself and another superintendent led the talk in the county about about moving the start time of high school. And it didn't get very far. As you can tell, we didn't move the time of high school. It's tricky. It's a very complicated domino effect to do so. But again, what I want to be clear, I fully support and will work with you as a superintendent the best I can on what you believe your needs are. But I cannot move the start time at this time. I cannot. So doesn't mean I don't want to, I just can't. What I would ask the community, please argue respectfully. And I just ask of that. And you don't have to listen to me. I have no authority over you on Facebook at all, none. I applaud the students that have been doing their best to stay respectful and fight for what they believe in. I think we should support that. That's part of our democracy. Not being Republican, not being Democrat, it's part of our democracy. For people to stand up for what they believe is best for them. And I applaud the students for doing that. Even if I disagree with you, I would applaud you anyway. And hopefully we can do that as a community respectfully and openly. And that would be wonderful to see. I'm not seeing that right now, unfortunately, on the Facebook post. But I hope we can. And again, thank you, students. And if you're going to be speaking tonight, thank you in advance. Unfortunately, I did deliver some information you probably weren't hoping to hear. But I like to be honest with you as well. And that is part of being respectful, is being honest and upfront with people. Which leads me to another point. I had mentioned recently in a board meeting a chart that talks about orange, yellow, greens, reds related to the activity level of COVID with 3 breakdown parts: cases, COVID-like symptom, COVID-like illnesses, and percentage of positivities. What I was under the impression of is that when that turned orange in all 3 categories, that was an automatic closure. Yesterday, we held a meeting with our county superintendent. We heard from someone from the legislative committee sharing about this concept. And it isn't exactly accurate to say that that chart itself determines opens or closures. It doesn't. In fact, what we're being told to do now, and again, this is today, October 29th. I don't know what next week will be like, unfortunately. But as of right now, what we're told to be doing, continue to work with our health department and use any local data that we can and the school data. And as you know, we report that every week. So I'm putting together a chart for this. I did get sidetracked. I was hoping to have that out today. I'll do my best to get it out tomorrow to the board and then to our community and our staff. But it's not so cut and dry as colors. As you know, there's an uptick in New Jersey. I believe the governor announced that we are either in or right at the beginning of the second wave. We've been hearing about the second wave for months ago. We've heard about the second wave, and we're getting close to being in it, apparently. The numbers are not good when you look at cases. There are hospitalizations rising. And what they're telling us, and what we were told on Wednesday as superintendents, kind of don't look at all that, which is a little odd and hard to do, but really try to focus when you're talking about a school closure, a district closure, not a school, a district closure, on your local data and surrounding local data. So what does it look like in South Brunswick? What does it look like in surrounding neighborhoods? The other part, when you think of a closure, is very specific to positive COVID cases. Now, just to give you a clarity, in any school where there are 2 COVID cases positive within a 14-day time frame of each other that are completely independent of each other, that is an absolute closure of that building for the remainder of the 14 days. Meaning on day 1, COVID positive. Day 4, COVID positive. No relation. Same school, not district, same school. That school will close from 14 days from the first positive. That's how that works. That's an automatic. That is not a decision by the board or decision by the superintendent. That's an automatic. If there's one case in a school that touches a large number of staff and students, that alone could cause a closure of the school. If you have a situation where the whole town is massive numbers, that could close the school district. So that's kind of where we're looking and where we're going to continue to go forward and continue to make sure we communicate to our stakeholders into how this all works. The other piece of data is how are we doing in our schools? I am happy to report we have had no known transmissions in our school, yet we're dealing with cases. We've had cases of students that are not even in the school, but we find out and we know. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reporting every time there's a case, even if it's a remote virtual student, that'll be reported to the whole school. So even if we get that information, we will report it. The school community includes the staff and the families. We're not doing that to alarm people. We're doing that to inform you. And that is a process where we will be doing, and will continue to do. I will continue to use the weekly update on health and other things every Tuesday. And I have to thank again Gene Rickel, Lieutenant Gene Rickel, as well as Deputy Chief Jim Ryan for keeping us informed. I have a good partner in Jim Ryan as he kind of oversees the Office of Emergency Management and the Health Department in South Brunswick and keeps me abreast of anything happening in the county and the state that he's aware of. He sends me links and gives me a count of any information we need on Tuesdays. And so we're going to continue down that path. But that's more about school closures. But I wanted to make a correction to my, I don't know if I made the error, to be honest with you, or I read it, or it's a change. I really don't even know anymore. But the bottom line is we were told yesterday specifically that chart is not a school closure chart. The other problem with that chart is we are Middlesex County and we are South Brunswick in Middlesex County. Central East includes Ocean, all of Ocean and all of Monmouth County. So the reason they don't want us using that chart is the issues that could be raising the rates in the Central East could have nothing to do with Middlesex County and nothing to do with our surrounding area. So I'm not going to discount the chart. It'll be a factor for us, but I wanted to share that and try to do my best in explaining that to our community. So that's where we are with that. I share with you transportation, just so families know, it won't be lunch deliveries next week. You would have already received information. Lunch will be tomorrow. And we'll go back to pick up again after the week's over. For families, there's a look under middlesexcounty.newjersey.gov. Free drive-through flu shot clinics are going on. It began yesterday and it's going to run for a while. So please find out about that and please get your flu shots if it's something that you normally do. They're saying to make sure you do that. Project Graduation is doing their craft fair. Just so you know, the craft fair is happening on November 7th. All safety measures will be in place. So it could take you a little longer than normal to go through it, but they're still doing that great event as well as a clothing drive. So again, more information from that. We want to tell our community, we are still looking for employees, people that want to work. We need you, paraprofessionals, substitute teachers. We need you, even possibly classroom teachers. If you want to work in South Brunswick, this is the time to give it a shot. You can check out the website for job employment, fill that out, and we'll get in touch with you. So please do that. And before we move to Jen Disler, who has a technology presentation today, I'm going to hold that off for a second, Jen, and give the board a chance to ask any questions about this, and specifically if there's any more information you want or discussion regarding the return of board meetings back to in person. Mr. Nathanson, back to you.
Thank you. Yes. Is there any questions? Like Mr. Fetter said, please ask them now. Stephen.
Yes, in terms of limiting the people in the room, are you going to turn away people at the door, or are you going to ask people to register so those who come know they have a seat?
Good point, Dr. Parker. We really only spoke about this in the last 24 hours. I think the idea of registering might be a great way to not have to turn people away. So Mr. Pawlowski, please mark that down as a potential solution.
Lisa.
Mr. President, I don't have a question on the board meeting. I just have a question on the information that was just provided on the family COVID
Okay, go ahead.
rating. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so there's two. Scott, can you just explain to parents, if a parent changes their mind on remote or in person, what would the chain of command be?
Yeah, so we're kind of done with that.
I just want to clarify that.
We really need to be done with that because we can't plan and operate with the daily changes. So we're kind of done with that.
Okay.
There will be a time where we open that up again, but at this point, it's closed, and we need to move on with what we know so we can plan accordingly and protect everybody safely and do what's needed. So, but you'll have advance notice of when that window will be to make a change in decision.
Okay. And then the second has to do with the breadth and the depth of reporting. So we know what the breadth is, right? We know that if there's 2 cases within 14 days, for example, in the same school, but are you going to be looking at the depth of that information too? Meaning,
that was not accurate. I want to make sure it's accurate.
Oh.
It's not just if there's 2 cases in a school. It's if the 2 cases in the school are completely independent of each other and there's no correlation or any way to connect the 2 cases.
okay. With that, would you be looking at or including information a family member of a student, or are we just stopping at the student level? Would we be,
Reporting COVID cases of non-students or faculty.
can you just repeat that? I'm sorry, you broke.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
We will not be reporting COVID cases of non-students and faculty.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Rogers. And yes, Mr. Robertson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do think eventually that we should return back to, this is referencing in-board meetings. However, before I make a decision on whether or not I would want to participate in such a plan, I'd like to see the plan itself detailed in terms of what the safety precautions, health and safety you have. I want to make sure that there's a certainty. I don't want any ambiguities in putting any of my fellow board members at risk or any of the public at risk. I just want to make sure that I have everything spelled out, knowing that there's a lot of variables in this, but before I commit to whether I will return, I want to make sure that that I see the plan, I review the plan. Also, I think board members should have time to digest the plan so they can see and ask serious questions about the direction we're going to take to in-person meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
And all I'll do is comment and say, like we've done with everything else, we wouldn't be bringing students. We've been bringing students back into the school since September. We've been bringing staff back into the school since September. We have hundreds of people a day in the schools. So whatever we do regarding 9 board members will be beyond simple in managing that in comparison to the schools. So what I can assure you of, and we will provide you with those details, is bringing 9 people back into a room the size of that room will be the easiest thing we do as far as keeping people safe and managing any form of groups. So just so you all are aware, we'll certainly provide that as we're providing that for all of our staff and families. We wouldn't even consider this if there was even a thought of that not being something that would be beyond simple, to be honest with you.
Well,
So,
let me clarify. The number is insignificant, whether it's 1, 9, or 9,000. What I'm centering upon is health. So I don't want to understand your clarification of simple. I look upon it as being very complex because we're dealing with someone's lives or people's lives. So even though I'm not saying that the administration is not or has not done a good done a good job since September, but what I'm saying is, I as a board member, it's my health, it's other people's health, and I want to make sure that there is a plan. I'm not going to blanketly just say, oh yeah, that's cool, or as you put it, simplify or oversimplify it. I don't want to get into that, but what I'm telling you as a board member, that's the plan that I want to see. Thank you.
Just to clarify, any board member that doesn't feel comfortable in coming back, they have that option to stay on Zoom, because we're going to continue in some form the Zoom meeting for people that can't or don't want to come to the meeting and want to be able to speak. So you will always have that option, Mr.
Well, that was the point that I was speaking about, Mr. President, because Mr. Federer didn't state that in his statement when he read it. He said about a plan coming back. But this is the first time that I'm hearing that board members that may not want to come, like I go to work every day. Like I told you before, when I have my meetings, basically conducted on Microsoft Teams and Zoom. But but that's different. So I'm not trying to say that the administration didn't take into heart exactly what the because we had a great come to think of it, we had a very great retreat last night. And one thing we talked about in the retreat was surprises. So I, as a board member, do not like surprises. I don't want to see surprises. So that's the point that I'm making. We had a great meeting last night. That's what we talked about.
I understand. That's why I said what I just said.
I yield the floor, Mr. President.
Mr. Patel, you had a question? or comment?
Yes, actually, you did, Mr. President, you did address that if a board member have an options to participate via Zoom, they can. So my answer is question. And I can't commit right now, as Mr. Robinson said. Let's see a plan and everything, because we have, by the end of the year, we have only 2 meetings, one in November and one in December. So let's see if we want to move and maybe reorg move is the maybe first step you want to do it. So let's talk it out. As we said, that this is just we are just discussing right now. We're not making decision tonight. So let's
I understand.
Thank you.
The reason I put it out there, because I sent you an email way before this regarding it. The reason I put it out there is exactly what Mr. Fetter said. We're asking our entire staff to come back. We're asking a 25% or more of students to come back. It's if we can do it safely, I want to do it in some form. I'm not dictating whether every board member comes back or not. You will still have that option to stay remote.
Can I
Yes,
have one comment? Maybe that's an idea, because during the school time, we are using Crossroads. So maybe it's a cleanings and everything is involved. Is it possible to have temporary meeting at the Black Horse Lane? So that we can have because we have a good facility there to have a Zoom meetings and everything. And
well, like Mr. Fetter said, I would think Crossroads would be more suited to have us being able to maybe some being on the stage, some being on the floor, and being separated better, and being able to have people in the audience that of a certain number being able to social distance. We don't have that ability at Black Horse.
Crossroads has the capability of televising it, which the Black Horse Lane does not. So
that too.
Look at it and get back into the public.
That too. Lisa, you had a question or a comment?
No, it was just more of a comment. At Crossroads North, we have a larger auditorium, so there's more space. I'm making an assumption here, but I would assume there's a ventilation that it's a little bit better than Black Horse Lane, only because we're not in such a small area. As well as if we follow the governor's rules as to the number of people that are allowed in a room, and we follow social distancing, and we have protocols, right? Maybe that's what we could use. Maybe just the protocols that we would have to follow to make that decision. But I think if that's necessary, but I think if we just follow the norms of social distancing, masking, 6 feet away, number of people in a room, everybody still has a choice. But I think Black Horse Lane might actually, and Devin, I see where you were going on that, but I think Black Horse Lane might be a little bit too small, and it would actually cause maybe more of an issue. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, but it's also what Ray said. We don't have the capability to televise.
Correct. I agree.
Do a Zoom meeting there. So
Mr. Nathanson.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got to jump in, and I don't know what this is going to mean. We're bringing back 750 teachers. You have an entire staff of people that work in this Black Horse Lane, which now we're talking about ventilation. Are we kidding? If ventilation is not good for 9 board members for 2 hours, why am I going to work every day in this building?
Correct.
We have to start thinking a little differently here, people.
Correct.
We're talking about giving choice to board members to come in for a 2-hour meeting, but we're not giving choice to teachers because we can't do that. I'm missing this. I understand you want a plan. I get that. I'll give it to you. But this concept of you want me to go into work tomorrow. And now if I'm a teacher right now, I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. You can't have 9 people in a room, but you're telling me to go back with kids for 6 hours every day. And now we just bring up ventilation as an issue, which it's not an issue.
It's not, you misunderstood me, Scott. I didn't mean it as an issue. I was comparing, no, I think you misunderstood me. I was comparing why it's better to be at Crossroads North. It's a larger room versus.
No.
I'm sorry. I did not mean for it to sound like ventilation issue.
Bring up ventilation for 9 people in a Black Horse Lane room. That's a problem if I'm sending my kids back or I'm going to be working in these buildings. These issues. I'm sorry that we brought it up.
I don't see an issue with it. I don't see it. Hold on. Let's set everything. Mr. President.
Okay. We're not going to. Lisa, we're not going to go back and forth.
I know, Mr. President.
All right.
You
I'm
just
not going to go back and forth, but I want to make sure. I want to make sure that there's a point. I don't want anyone comparing apples to oranges or trying to make me feel like I'm an elected board member and I have a right to make a point. And that's what I'm doing. I don't care whether it ruffles someone's feathers or not. I will make that statement, and that's it.
Okay.
I want to make the point that just like we ask people to decide whether they're going to send their kids in or remote, whatever we do, you can't wait till the night before and say, hey, I've decided not to come or I've decided to come. You're going to have to step up and say, this is something I can do or it's something I can't do, so that we can be prepared, so we can make sure the safety measures are in place for the number of people coming. I will say at this point, I'm willing to come to a meeting.
I'll be there.
I'd like to make a motion to the board that we pursue everything at all possible to have our next meeting live on November the 12th from the Crossroads Auditorium.
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, so now the next point is discussion. So in other words, we haven't really heard from all the other board members. We have certain board members that are making motions and seconding without even really hearing the rest of the board. Now, you people, you're very interesting sometimes the way you think. You don't think clearly. You never really think of the big picture and stuff like that. So yeah, we can go ahead and follow Mr. Keener's. There's a motion on the floor and there's a second. I'm saying in the discussion, fine, we don't have a plan. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's move forward and let's look at things like that and with an option and stuff like that. You haven't even seen the plan. You people don't even have a clue sometimes. Sometimes you just go ahead and you just think off the top of your heads. You need to start being leaders instead of being followers. That's your problem. We had a great retreat last night. It seems like it went through one ear and went out the other. Wow. So yeah, let's go ahead and go with the motion. Let's go second it.
Mr. Robinson, you have the ability to vote no. And again, I said to any board members that have a problem coming to the meeting can stay virtual. So, the thing is that we are being leaders and all our staff is going back. All our office staff is going back. And a lot of our kids are going back. So we are being leaders.
Everybody, let's have one person speak at a time.
Mrs. Meta, go ahead.
So I would just like to say that this is not who we are as board members. I don't agree with the way that we are trying to discuss this at all. This is absolutely not who we are and why we were elected. I agree with Mr. Robinson to say that, to be honest, we did not know that this was going to be up for discussion today. Yes, we did receive an email, but we were not informed that this was going to be happening today. Board members have the right to ask questions and to find out exactly what the plan is and what the options are. And I would say that this is not the time or the place to be making this decision today. Let us go back to Mr. Feder. Let us ask the questions that we need to ask. And at the next board meeting, we can come back and then we can decide what we're going to do next.
Well, Mrs. Meta, the problem is that next board meeting is not till November 12th. And that's why we're having the discussion this evening, because like my email that I wanted to come back November 12th because we're opening November 16th.
So
that's the reason why I disagree. We're having a discussion right now, correct?
I think that we should have time, and then we can, we can make this decision. It doesn't have to be done in this form at all.
All right, Mr. Keener's motion was to put the plan in place. We're gonna get the
Correct.
plan, and then we'll all have to decide individually whether we can meet or not. And if nobody can meet, then we're obviously gonna have a virtual meeting. But the motion is to move forward with a plan. They're gonna put the plan together. They will send it to us. We can't have a discussion except at a public meeting. So he will send it to us and we can each make an individual decision whether that plan is sufficient for us and let Mr. Fetter know. And if there are sufficient numbers to do it, we'll do it.
Thank
May
you,
I ask though, to Dr. Parker's point, I just want one clarification. Why do we need, and it is a question, why do we need a sufficient number in person? Do we need to have that?
We need to have a quorum. I assume we
Because
need
if
to.
you have one person, what's the point of having an
Hold on.
in-person meeting with one
Okay.
person? So
Okay, so can we agree on a minimum number of people in attendance at North?
Well, that'll be determined after we see what's going on and how many people. As far as I know, there's 3 people that have contacted me right at this point that are not interested in coming back at this point. So, based on that, we have at least 6 board members that haven't said anything to me.
Okay, thank you.
Pat,
Hey, Pat, what are other boards doing throughout the state?
there's been a lot of boards that have been back already. So, it's, some are staying virtual because they're not doing what we're doing. And a lot of boards have been back already. So that's why I just put it out there. So.
And there are other boards that are in deep discussion about.
Correct.
Motion's on the table.
Moved in second.
Has a statement.
Mr. President, I have a quick comment on
Yes,
this.
go ahead, Joe.
We've had children back in our schools since September and staffing. We basically voted last meeting, we're bringing almost 30% of our children back into our schools. There are 9 board members, including administration, about 15 people total at a meeting. I'm in favor of going back to live. We are in an auditorium, okay, and we have so far demonstrated that we have separated the children and kept everybody safe in our school districts. And with basically 15 adults sitting in an auditorium, I'm sure the plan is going to be distancing, using the stage and everything else. So I'm in favor of us going back into a live meeting. And for those who don't want to, which is fine, to go basically back onto Zoom. But I like what Dr. Parker said. If the public wants to be there, please register ahead of time. And that number will be determined on how many people we can have inside the auditorium. So thank you.
Joe, that last piece, Joe, is up for research. We're gonna look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
In any case, the number of people.
Moved in second. Can I get a roll call, Mr. Pulaski, please?
We're taking a roll call vote on returning to in-live meetings. Patrick Delpiano.
I thought you were taking a roll call on the plan and then coming back.
The plan on coming back to a live meeting.
I'm gonna abstain.
Mr.
Yeah.
Raymond Keener,
Yes,
Any?
Ms. Joyce Mehta,
Abstain.
Dr. Stephen Parker,
Yes,
Mr. Devin Patel,
Abstain.
Mr. Arthur Robinson,
Definitely abstain.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti,
Yes.
Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Yes.
5 yes, 4 abstentions, motion carries.
Thank you. Mr. Fetter, moving along to board briefs.
Yep, Jen Disler, Assistant Superintendent for CNI, has a brief on technology tools.
Nice to see you all. And let me just pull this up, and I want to share actually my whole desktop. So I apologize, you're seeing yourselves, but I'm going to use a couple different technologies with you all today. So it's hard to follow after that, so I apologize. Let me jump in. This was a board brief that we had planned to share in previous meeting. It came about as a recommendation from the curriculum committee. We shared in some past presentations that as we were moving forward with remote instruction and as we move into hybrid, we recognized a need for some instructional tools for the district. And the context behind it was that we had to pivot. We knew that there was going to be some form of virtual instruction, no matter how we come back. And even as we move into hybrid, there's still aspects of virtual instruction and the need for technology and tools. We recognize since the springtime that there's unfinished learning gaps, and that's something that we spoke about before. We also know that learning more tech, utilizing more tools allows us to teach in transformational ways and really utilize technology to create opportunities that kids wouldn't have had otherwise. And in all honesty, we've had a very tech-rich environment in South Brunswick. And just in the few months that we went remote, we are adding more than 20 different tech tools to utilize. Some that are couple $100 to some that are tens of thousands of dollars. There's been a big investment in technology in our district, and I'm excited tonight to highlight some with you. And I'm going to share just a couple slides on a few, and then I actually have enlisted some awesome supervisors and librarians to help give you a little bit of closer peek at some of the tools we're using. So when we get to talk about Mackin, Lisa Manganello, a librarian at the high school, is going to give you some information on that via screencast. Exact Path, 2 of our elementary supervisors, Jess Nastasi and Sherry Sassine, have graciously put together a screencast about that, so you could just see what it looks like. And then Anna Alfieri and Aparna Rajagopal, both middle and high school supervisors, they are going to talk to us a little bit about gizmos and give you a closer look. So I'm just going to get started. As you all from home know, and we all know on the board, we're experiencing it right now, Zoom. Zoom has been the platform, but I want to share with you tonight is that Zoom really is allowing our teachers to recreate the classroom. In a classroom, we do openers, we have whole and small group instruction, there's formative assessment, and closure to lessons. All of these parts of a lesson can happen using Zoom platform. We have the ability to use chat features, reactions, we can take polls, we can go into breakout rooms that allow for small group instruction. There's even capabilities to do interactive whiteboards. So the features of Zoom is a great tool that our teachers are capitalizing, and I'm sure all our families have experienced it. Another similar one is Google Classroom and Google Meet. So that one is one that you know. One that you might not know is something called Edpuzzle. And this was a tool that we purchased for K-12. We've had teachers using it in the district for years, but we took on getting it for the district because it's perfect for remote instruction and really being able to do hybrid instruction. It allows for flipped learning. And the beauty of Edpuzzle is you can take any video, whether it's on YouTube, one that you've made yourself, and you can actually pause it along the way and add questions. So if you look in the graphic that I have in the top right corner, you can see that this is a video on adding fractions, but then you can see a question on the top right, and that's really, it pauses as the student watches the video. They can type in the answers to questions. The teacher can see it, they see who's done it, and they can can check it. It's a great way to check understanding. It's a great way while a teacher is working with a small group. So in moving forward, let's say a teacher is working with some students in front of them. Students at home could be doing an ed puzzle. They could be watching a video and answering questions and interacting that way, and vice versa. It's great for station learning. It's great for flipped learning. And a teacher can see if students have watched it. They are allowed to put stopping points. Think of some of the movies that you might have watched in social studies or snippets of movies in English. They now can be paused with set questions in them where all kids, as you know, all of our kids will have devices, can answer along the way. Makes it interactive. So that's Edpuzzle, an awesome, really cool tool. Another general tech tool that our teachers are capitalizing on is called Screencastify. And Screencastify is a way to record what's on the screen, add voiceover or even a video of yourself as you're presenting. And some of the videos that we're going to show from our supervisors and librarian, they've used Screencastify or something similar. And we purchased this one. This is one that's most widely used, and you can see it's perfect for all of these pieces. What's really nice is the idea. This is a great learning tool for our teachers that they are using more and more. And so, you know, if a child's absent, so let's just say we all go back to complete normal, this is a tool that we'll probably see continually used because it gives the teacher the chance to clone themselves. They can be in multiple places at the same time. They can do a Screencastify video and giving directions on something while they're working with another group. And so kids are really able to access the teacher utilizing technology in this way. So there's great features with it. Again, this is a K-12 tool. Another K-12 tool that we added, this is great for interaction and engaging students. It's called Padlet. Many of our teachers use the free version of this, but the free version only let you have so many. And Padlet is great because you can do things like I have as an example here. I did a reflection meeting with our teachers, and I gave them the opportunity on this wall to put their ideas. So a teacher could do this as a brainstorming session with kids to organize information. A small group could build their Padlet to organize ideas and work together in small groups. But it's a great way to engage students. And what's neat is kids don't have to have a username or password. They can just get the link from their teacher and they can access and engage it. So this is Padlet. The ones that I just shared with you are tools that are K-12. Everybody has the opportunity to be able to use them. I'm hoping that some of the family members right now are saying, oh yeah, I've seen my kid on that one. Oh yeah, I remember seeing that one. If you haven't seen some of these, I'm sure you will. Our teachers are getting better and better with them each and every day. And what's great about our decisions that we made in the spring and the summer for purchasing will stand the test of time and will support no matter we're in person, we're remote, but they're added features for a good one-to-one classroom. These are ones that are universal. We also have tech tools that are content specific. And if I'm going to share with you now a short video from Lisa Manganello, and this is about Mackin. And this one is also a K-12 tool, but it's kind of focusing in on library and how do we get books in the hands of kids? How do we do it digitally? How can we make sure that if kids can't access books from the library themselves, that we still can make sure that they are reading at home and enjoying books and exploring and using them as windows to see into other areas and other places and other people. And so I'm actually going to do this and see if, you got to tell me if you don't see my screen. Do you see that I'm clicking on this? I'm going to open it this way because my hope is that all faces and words match up. Can you see the video? Can one of my board members tell me if you see it?
Yes.
Lisa's smiley face. Okay, good. So I'm going to play this for you, and then so let's learn a little bit about Mackin.
Hi, board members. I'm Lisa Manganello, and I'm going to give you a quick tour of Mac and Via. Now, many of you have spent time over the years in our physical libraries, and you know that the librarians have put a lot of time and attention and care into the collection that we develop. Mac and Via is a great way to extend that collection to our students, especially in a time where we're working remotely, because it gives access to ebooks and audiobooks. And because we're participating in a consortium, we are paying a fraction of the price to receive a really robust collection, but we're sharing that collection with other schools and libraries. So let me give you the tour. This is the main page that students would see. They log in with their regular email and Google passwords. When they get here, you'll notice that they can do some browsing. They can look at the newest materials in the collection. They can look at the highest rated. The collection itself is highly searchable. You can see that over to the left. We're going to look at all resources. This features over 800 different audiobooks and ebooks that the students can check out, and that's going to be growing. We also can search by category. So if you're the type of student that likes to browse and just wants to take a look at what's offered in a particular category, you can absolutely do that just as you would browse a book display in the library. This is something that's going to be growing and increasing as the librarians get more in tune with the way Mackin works. We're going to expand this for our students. Ebooks and audiobooks can be searched independently. I want to show you both, so I'm going to search through all resources. I'm going to do a search as a student would for a favorite author. So for example, I love the work of Randy Ribay. So I'm going to search for his books. After the Shot Drops is a book that we have here in the high school library. It's popular and it's frequently checked out. Online, students will notice that there are 3 copies available to them that are the ebook. Right now, there's 1 copy available. It will give them a short description and the ability to check out the book. If you click checkout, you'll notice it's now checked out to my account and it will return automatically when the book loan is up. So the students don't have to worry about anything to do with returning this book, which is really nice. To open it so that you can see what it looks like, it searches like a regular book if you were to open it. It does have a text-to-speech component. You'll notice that here.
To Nasser, everyone's hanging their head as we trudge toward the bus, headphones on and bags slung.
Now, that's a very automated voice. It's not a traditional narration, but this is a great help and a great tool to students who may struggle with reading or may have an issue with processing the written word and are able to really benefit from hearing it spoken. There's lots of cases where that may be the case. They can even slow it down or speed it up a little bit depending on their fluency. Now, the nice thing about this is you'll notice I have a piece of text highlighted here. Anything I highlight, I can highlight and I can make a notation on. So if I want to make a notation, I can simply click on that quote. I can change the highlighting color and I can say, add to my paper. Now, I might want to make a more significant quote, but in this case, add to my paper will give us a sample so that you can see where this goes. Now, even if this book is returned, it's after the return period and it's gone back to the library and it's being used by another student, the student has access to this material because all of these quotes and all of these notes end up in their student backpack. And that notebook feature allows them to have access long-term to the excerpts that they put there. That can be a huge help if they're working on a class project and they need to show evidence from the text. This is a great way to approach that. So really helpful and allows us to really make the most of an ebook. The other thing that we can do here are audiobooks. Now, I showed you the ebook and we talked about text to speech. I'm going to go back to my Randy Ribay search, and he also has an audiobook. And I'm going to return this one so that it's out there for another student to borrow. The Patron Saint of Nothing is an audiobook. Right now there are 3 copies of that audiobook available. And if we click listen.
On the floor of the room my father and his 2 brothers had shared growing up, my mom held me as...
So you can hear that that's actually, instead of being that text to speech, this is a more dramatic reading. So it's really engaging. And we've never had the opportunity to offer an audiobook platform to our students. This could be hugely helpful for reluctant readers, for students that struggle with the written word. This is a game changer. So it really is a great add to that we're giving our students this year. Again, just like the other, you can absolutely make notes at any point in the text to support what you would be doing for a class project, and those are gathered in your backpack. So that's the basics of Mac and VIA. The thing I really want to impress upon you is that this is a starting point for us. This consortium is giving us access to a nice collection that then the librarians are going to develop by adding ebooks and audiobooks that support our specific schools, our specific readers, our specific learning community. And that's going to allow us to really have this product become rich and engaging and something that I hope will grow for generations here at the high school. So this is just a little purchase that we've made that's going to put us on the path to some really great things. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thanks, Lisa. So that was awesome. Let me get back to this. So all of our librarians are becoming and are well-versed in Mackin, and it's at every single school. And you just saw an example of a screencast, and that's, you know, a tool that our teachers have and are able to use. Mackin is an awesome tool, and as Lisa mentioned, it's one that we want to grow and expand and continue to use. The way of the future is having audiobooks and you know, a nice balance of both in the hands and being able to listen, I think is the way that we want to go. Another tool that I have Jess Nastasi and Sherry Sassine have a short video for you. This one's actually very content specific. It's a K-5 tool. It's for ELA and for math. And back in the beginning of this presentation, I mentioned to you about learning gaps. And this is really specific for that, as well as the idea of personalized learning. This is a tool that will allow kids to really access where they are and be able to move at their pace. So this is ExactPath.
Hello, my name is Sherry Sassine, and I am the supervisor of Elementary English Language Arts and Social Studies.
My name is Jessica Nastasi, and I'm the supervisor of Elementary Math and Science. We're excited to give an overview of an incredible online learning program that we know will help move our students forward.
This overview will explain what ExactPath is, what it does, and how it works.
So what exactly is ExactPath? ExactPath is an individualized learning program that delivers the right lesson at the right level at the right time. This program uses adaptive assessments with targeted and personalized learning paths for both reading and math.
This image captures South Brunswick's approach to address unfinished learning. We've already worked as a district to understand the grade level standards that may not have been addressed in last year's instruction. Teachers have identified the prerequisite skills that students need to access grade level content to address that unfinished learning. So where does ExactPath fit in? Along with our South Brunswick assessments, the ExactPath reading and math diagnostic help teachers to identify or diagnose student understanding of the prerequisite skills needed to access grade level content to consider if gaps exist for the whole class or a small group. The results of the diagnostic are used to take action when planning for small group classroom instruction, as well as provide targeted independent practice through a personalized learning path for students.
So how does ExactPath work exactly? Step 1 begins with an adaptive diagnostic assessment, which pinpoints individual students' precise learning abilities in reading and math. ExactPath diagnostic assessments are computer adaptive tests that measure skill readiness and academic growth. As a student takes an assessment, the testing algorithm works in real time to deliver specific questions that hone in on the student's appropriate level of instruction. If the student answers incorrectly, the assessment lowers the difficulty of the next item. If the student answers correctly, the assessment raises the difficulty level of the next item. As the student answers more questions, the test learns more about what the student does or does not know. Every answered question provides greater confidence and precision to automatically create a learning path for each student.
Step 2 is the adaptive pathway. Once the diagnostic determines a learning path for students, students log in to begin their exact path journey. Students are provided with unique learning playlists assembled specifically to meet their needs. These tailored playlists follow a learning progression covering key state standards and skills. Students can move at their own pace and can even use the platform to set their own learning goals and monitor their own progress.
The direct instruction and activities use a mastery learning approach to adapt to each student based on individual success and remediate with prerequisite building blocks as needed. The recommended time for students to navigate their learning path is at least 30 minutes per week per subject. ExactPath is a part of independent student learning stations in the classroom.
The platform utilizes a gradual release model for its lessons. Students will view a lesson, usually in the form of a cartoon video that makes real-world connections, and will complete practice questions aligned to the skill or concept to check for understanding. After, they will complete a mastery quiz. The platform will assess their progress on that skill or concept and will either review or move students forward accordingly.
Step 3 is analysis of student data. As students complete the lessons, teachers can analyze the collected data and make instructional decisions to move students forward in their learning. Each step of the way, teachers have access to resources that support targeted instruction. Using student data, teachers can form small groups for additional practice or extension.
In closing, ExactPath meets students exactly where they are, personalizing learning to close unfinished learning gaps and propel learning forward so that all students receive just what they need.
We hope that this video was helpful for you, and thank you for tuning in to our overview of ExactPath.
Okay. So you got to see a little bit about ExactPath, and you know, to me the neat part and something that we've never had before is that adaptive aspect of it. Thanks to Jess and Sherry for sharing. Our teachers have been learning more and more how to use it, and they are finding ways to implement it in the classroom, just as Jess and Sherry explained. Thank you for that. As you get to see another kind of screencast. Finally, this evening, last but definitely not least, an area of interest in our district is science. And I've mentioned gizmos. And for any of you back in the 80s fan, we're not talking about gremlins, but we are talking about science. And this is a content specific for grades 6 through 12. Anna Alfieri, supervisor at the high school, her and Aparna, supervisor at the middle school, learned about gizmos, had teachers try it out in the past, and we've gone ahead and purchased the ability to use it to have virtual labs in school. Now, this never replaces actual hands-on, but this gives kids an opportunity to be able to explore and sometimes do things that they wouldn't have been able to do for whatever reason. So let's let them do, let Aparna and Anna explain it better than I would. And yeah, X out of this. Go back here. And so last but not least is gizmos.
Good evening. My name is Aparna Rajagopal, and I'm the STEM supervisor for South Brunswick School District.
And I'm Anna Alfieri, the math and science supervisor at South Brunswick High School.
We are here today to talk to you a little bit about Explore Learning Gizmos, which is the online learning platform that we have selected for science for grades 6 through 12.
Gizmos came to our attention through teachers when in the spring it was made available for free. Teachers piloted it and enjoyed it, and it found it to be a very good substitute for in-class, hands-on labs.
A couple other reasons based in the standards for why we decided to use gizmos are as follows. Gizmos allows us to foster inquiry and discovery. And by that, I mean that it allows students to predict outcomes before an experiment is done, it promotes pattern finding. It also develops higher order thinking skills among students, such as having them justify their explanations, having them root all their answers based upon the evidence that they gathered via experiments or observation. And it is a hands-on substitute for hands-on learning opportunity, which substitutes the actual lab, and because the students control the gizmos and not the teachers. As you can see in the graphic that follows, this shows us that when we teach science, we are required to teach not just the disciplinary core ideas, but also science and engineering practices and cross-cutting concepts such as pattern finding, justification of answers based in evidence, and making measurements and collecting data.
I just want to share a couple of the tools that are available through Gizmos. So one of the gizmos, or little simulations that are available, allows students to use equipment like a triple beam balance. So this gizmos allows them to move things just as they would if they were using a triple beam balance in class. The hope is that things like this will transfer when students return to the classroom. And this is a microscope that students can use remotely. Allows them to change focus, allows them to change the magnification, allows them to move the staging, just as if they were using a microscope in the classroom.
We also are able to do some virtual labs, such as a chemistry lab over here, where students use various tests to find out to identify the material based upon the properties of the material. We can do multiple tests. In this case, we did a litmus test. We could do a vinegar test, a biuret test, and possibly an iodine test as well, in order to know what the material is.
And all of the gizmos come with hands-on lab worksheets that students can use to collect their data and record their findings. Simulations can be done that allow students to collect data very quickly, and they can use the data collected to do calculations, to make graphs, and to support ideas that they're learning in class.
In addition to simulations, we can also use gizmos to teach a cross-cutting concept such as pattern finding. You can see by the movement of the frogs, we ask students to identify patterns. This can then be followed by questions which ask students to think about the data that they've collected. Like for instance, over here, it talks about the seasons, about days of the week, and so on and so forth, which are patterns. This can then be followed by a more intensive questionnaire, which is guided learning of a sort, which surfaces student thinking in terms of pattern matching and using it to make science meaningful.
There are also many STEM cases that are complete.
Welcome to Explore Learning's STEM case on enzymes. This case study has two versions, a general biology version, which takes approximately 40 to 50 minutes to complete, and an AP biology version, which takes approximately 50 to 75 minutes to complete. In this case study, students act as a veterinary technician to help a Great Dane named Claire who is eating well but still losing weight. Students review the background information on enzymes needed to solve the case by entering the enzymes handbook. This includes metabolism, graphing, chemical reactions, reactants and products, reaction rates, amino acids, protein folding, enzyme active sites, and the effects of temperature and pH on enzyme function. More topics are covered in the AP version. Teachers are able to track student progress in real time by using our heat map tool in their Explore Learning account. After completing the handbook, students return to the case to continue their investigation. Students first investigate the enzymes in the stomach and small intestine of Claire. Next, students analyze that data and hypothesize the cause of Claire's illness from 3 possible problems. Students then test their hypothesis by performing multiple experiments. Then, students apply Claire's treatment and monitor her progress. Finally, students complete a case summary to communicate their findings and help develop their scientific writing skills. By engaging with a real-world case, students...
As you can see, the advantage of gizmos is that a lot of cases which would take a really long time in real life can be expedited so students can see the results of some experiments that they do, which makes it very cool even when we will be back in person.
And we anticipate continuing to use gizmos through hybrid. As with social distancing requirements, real labs will be a challenge.
We just wanted to show you a quick snapshot of the number of instances when students have taken part in gizmos since the 30th of August. You can see 14,000 times students have accessed gizmos. Thank you for allowing us to share gizmos with you, and we are confident that gizmos is a good choice and a good substitute when we are in hybrid, as well as when we come back in person. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome. So thankful to Anna and Aparna for sharing that. I think the neatest part was that case with the dog with Claire, that that's something that you wouldn't be able to replicate in the classroom. So there are aspects that will be able to be used even when we're back in person. So board, I share with you all of that. I hope that you see that there's such quality and thoughtfulness that has been going on behind the scenes. Our administration and our teachers are doing an amazing job making sure that kids have what they need. We've also put together a website for our families to have tech resources. This is on the district website on that 2021 school year instruction. These are all the different information, and you see at the very bottom it says tech resources for parents. You click there and then you will see this website that has about just even from setup to utilizing Zoom to using Google Docs and some of the other apps and things that I shared with you tonight. So with that, I appreciate your patience. I know that that was a lot, but I really wanted you to see all of it, get to experience it, and I turn it back to you, President Nathanson.
Thank you, Jen. Fantastic presentation. I want to thank everybody that participated that was on the video. I don't know if anybody has questions of Jen regarding the presentation. Go ahead, Mr. Patel.
Thank you, Mr. President. So Jen, excellent presentation. We did see this at the curriculum meeting and that was good. So actually we did not see few presentations. So a couple of questions. Are we planning to use, I know the budget is an issue and I know this softwares are very expensive. So are we planning to use once we come back in, let's say post pandemic? How are we planning to do? How effectively are we using it?
Well, as you know, we've now shifted to be one-to-one. That means that all of our students have, devices in hand. So that means there's a lot we can do. So what I know that we'll do, there will be some of these tools that we'll continue with, and some we're going to have to make decisions on. But as we see the value in them, we will make decisions moving forward. So as the new budget season comes up, I'll work with my supervisors and I'll get input from teachers and family use, and we'll be able to make good decisions. We definitely will, budget for and keep in mind the ones that are going to give that transformational value, and also to continue to fill any learning gaps. So yeah, we're going to keep the ones that are really important. So for example, something like the amount of accounts of Zoom we have. When we're out of this pandemic, we probably won't need that anymore. But there is a lot of value in Zoom. So I'm sure that there's going to be some use of it. So we might just have to even adjust how big of a purchase we have. But we'll do that with diligence. We'll do it in a systematic way, and we'll make sure that the kids continue to get what they need and be supported.
So follow up with that. So can students have access to these tools after school so that they can do practice for Gizmo, they can do practice or they can go back?
Yeah,
okay.
They get assigned things. I don't think they can just go in and pick and do what they want, but they can go back into things that they've done and they can work on it on their own time. They can access it outside of the school day.
Oh, good. That's great. And regarding Mackin, I like really that that software that kids can borrow the books and they can have their notes and in their briefcase. So is there a link between a briefcase to Google Drive so that they don't have to copy and paste and that can...
That's a great question. I honestly don't know the answer of that, but I know Lisa is here. And so I asked her to listen and maybe she can email me and I can follow up with you and let you know if there's any connection to Drive. Great question. I'll find out.
That software, I think, is keeper. It's a good tool. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's about it, Mr. President.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I just, Jen, so you know, I do a lot of Audible books. So I'm gonna tell Lisa, so maybe I can do those too.
Yeah, so you have to ask her for some access to it, sure.
I have a question.
Rogers, go ahead.
Yes, just one question. I saw when Lisa was explaining that we are limited to a certain number of books at this point in time. And I know that she had mentioned that you're going to expand it. Can you just maybe explain how that process would take place and why we're limited now?
Yeah, think of just like any library. You know, you have a library book, that's one book that you can give out. You want to be able to give more of them, you have to buy more. So when you have access digitally to, I think, preserve the rights and the value and all of that, it's not just because you have it digitally, you can give out as many copies of it. There is a limited number. So in our consortium, you gain access to a certain amount. But then what our librarians are doing, they're working with teachers and our supervisors, especially like English at the high school and social studies. And they are then able to personalize and order more of different kinds of books, different genres, ones that we're using in the English classes at the high school, for say. So you have the ability to grow your own collection just like you would do in person. And we have the ability already to add to it this year. Our librarians kind of held out on buying hardcover, like actual books. So they still have budget. And so they're making decisions with their building administration and teachers on what's needed and how to grow the library. I do know that they were holding out the consortium. Actually, they do like and I might get this wrong and Lisa could correct me, but they, had the 1920 and now the new 2021 came in, and that one actually has more Audible books, a little bit better variety. So they were really excited when that dropped and they were able to utilize them. So it's something that will grow in time. I think this is one of those things that is great to have, whether we are in the pandemic or not.
Yeah, so basically there'll be no more snow days, right now.
That's not because of Mackin, but that's all this going on. That's a conversation for you all for another time. I don't think you want.
I know. Shh, don't say anything. But I do like what Devin recommended. If there's a way to connect to Google, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. And I thank all the folks that are behind the scenes making all of this tech happen.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else? Thank you, Jen. Mr. Fetter, you're done with your part? Is that correct?
I'm quite done with my part, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, move along. I'm gonna move to public comments. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Complete copies of the rules that govern this portion of the meeting, you can obtain an advance copy by contacting the board office during regular business hours. We reserve the right to limit each speaker to no more than 3 minutes. It is our plan to listen to each member of the public. We will note all questions and comments made. Once all questions and comments from all members of the public are made, the Board of Education will respond, if necessary, to questions or comments in the most timely and effective manner available. Please consider not repeating comments and questions made by other members of the public. I ask you to state your name, place of residence, and group affiliation. I also adding something that I appreciate, that you continue to be respectful your questions or comments also. Mr. Pulaski, anyone pre-registered?
We have no pre-registrations, but we have 5 with their hands up. We're going to start with Akash, always a favorite.
Hello, my name is Akash Khan. I am from Monmouth Junction, New Jersey. I graduated from South Brunswick High School in 2018, and I now attend Rider University, and I'm part of the class of 2022. If I want to let all of you change of topic, that we should implement student ambassadors for people entering, for high school students, for middle school students, and for elementary school students. The criteria for student ambassadors is 2 letters of rec from teachers and good character, and they should not be in bad disciplinary standing. In high school, what I consider bad disciplinary standing as people who receive more than 1 Saturday detention or any type of in or out of school suspension in high school. In middle school, what I consider bad disciplinary standing is multiple out of school suspensions, and in elementary school, we don't have such things, so everyone will be eligible provided they have a 3.1 GPA or better in high school with a rigorous course load. And also in middle school, I'd say the same thing. Honor roll 7 out of 9 semesters. In elementary school, I would say they should be based on teacher recommendations as well and characters. There will be interview process going on. I feel that I've come up with this idea based on what I saw in my college with orientation leaders, how people are hiring orientation leaders and student ambassadors for people to work at the Rider University admissions office, for example. So I feel that if we implement student ambassadors in elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, just like how I was able to carry myself in high school, this will help our district be the top 1 district in New Jersey and even in the entire United States of America. I hope all of you guys take that into consideration. From Akash Khan, I love each and every one of you, and I hope you guys support me throughout my educational journey at Rider University as well. And I'm doing well there as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Akash. Our next speaker is Prasad. Prasad, can you hear? There you go.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Prasad Dandekar. I'm from Kendall Park, New Jersey. And my when affiliation comes to, my 2 kids, one is in 2nd grade and one is in pre-K. I have 2 questions. First question is to Mr. President, and it is along with the comments. When the elected officials like Mr. Robinson and Miss Rogers passed and questioned their own buildings and make a issue of ventilation, it is really offensive to all the parents and their kids who are risking and ready to risk their kids and send them to the facility. And I really appreciate Mr. Federer to standing up to this bullying. So that was the question. Why would, as a parent, I would trust a board whose elected officials are insulting the people who are electing them? The second question is to Mr. Federer. Mr. Federer, in your comment, you mentioned that faculties are off limits on the reporting side of the COVID cases. I understand that, but how does that fits in your counting of correlated 2 cases that needs to be reported for the school shutdown? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify because it was incorrect. I actually said that the faculty and students would be reported, not families of faculty or students. Just to be clear, Prasad. Thanks so much.
Ramai, you're up.
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can. You're up. You have the floor.
Thank you so much for giving an opportunity for me to speak. I understand that, the board is taking every step to ensure that people, kids, and the entire community is safe. Thank you so much, and a great shout out to all of you for doing such a great job in ensuring South Brunswick is safe. I have a concern about a email that I received today. about Monmouth Junction kindergarten being combined, two classes combined into one. I understand this is in line with the, in line with the standards, kindergarten having more than 20 kids in a class. But this is the first time that this community is seeing something online, and kids at this state are not even able to handle things independently. I mean, as a parent, I feel that it takes a little bit of difficulty from both this side of the kids, the parents, as well as the teachers to keep the kids in sync when there are only 12 kids in a class. Now, when you combine two classes, it'll be more than like 20, 25 kids. And I'm not sure if my child will even start writing or reading something by the end of the year. No doubt the teachers are very great. No doubt everything is in place and this is in line with the standard. But taking into one consideration that we are online and not in person in school, I want the board to reconsider the decision of having only one teacher for the 25 students in kindergarten this year.
Thank you very much for your comment. Eric, you are up to speak.
Good afternoon. Good evening. My name is Eric Schlesinger. I'm from Monmouth Junction, New Jersey. I have a daughter in the high school, and I'm a former PTO president for Monmouth Junction School. I have to say, over the number of years that I've been involved, both with this school district and this as well as the Board of Education, that tonight's board meeting absolutely astounded me. Especially for those board members that abstained in voting, especially those board members that abstained in voting that are up for re-election. You completely lack the courage of your convictions. Just last week, you spent 2 weeks, over 10 hours, debating on whether or not it was safe to return our children to school, whether or not it was safe to return our hardworking staff and teachers to school. Yet the four of you, especially you, Mr. Robinson, with your complete visceral reaction about this situation, on your own personal safety, do not think it's safe for 9 of you to sit in one room and have an in-person meeting. I am absolutely astounded. Clearly, you guys do not have the courage of your convictions. And Mr. Robinson, when you talk about leadership, leadership is standing up and doing what is right and leading by example and setting the right tone for your community. You did not do that this evening, sir, and neither did you, Mr. Patel, and neither did you, Dr. Mehta. I am absolutely disappointed and astounded, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Deborah Fry, you're up to speak.
Hi, Debbie Fry. I'm the president of the Power Association, and I live in Dayton. The Powers have recognized how hard the board, and especially Kim White, has worked to keep all the Powers employed. We've seen the juggling act of having to move Powers from one position or building to another and the time involved in doing all that planning. I'm so impressed with the versatility of both administrators and Powers to make this work. I would like to personally thank everyone for doing such a great job working under the stressful conditions we find ourselves in. What a collective team we have all become to make this all work. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Michelle Killen, you're up.
Good evening, Greg Keeklehand, Kendall Park, 2 children in Greenbrook. The previous speaker kind of took the words out of my mouth. As a board, I think you guys, each one of you voted at the previous meeting, unanimously that it was safe for all of our kids and the staff to go back. I think you guys, missed a great opportunity to do the same for yourselves, to present to the community that if you think it's safe for our children and the staff and the faculty to all go back, that it would be the same for you guys. I think you guys really dropped the ball. That's it.
Thank you, sir, for your comment. Is it Kimberly? Hi, Kimberly.
Yes, Kimberly Gutierrez. Hi, thank you for listening. My name is Kimberly Gutierrez, and I am speaking as a parent in South Brunswick. I want to say that I feel so proud to live in South Brunswick. It's truly a wonderful place to live for so many reasons, but the main reason my family chose to raise our family in South Brunswick is number one, without a doubt, because of the South Brunswick School District. There's no debate about that. And I think that many families listening can relate to this. The South Brunswick School District is so amazing, partially because we have a knowledgeable board and partially because we have a fantastic superintendent. But the number one reason why South Brunswick School District is composed of award-winning public schools is because it provides our children with amazing, amazing educators. Now, during the conversation regarding reopening schools, and as we hear teachers rightfully express their worry or hesitation about returning to large school buildings filled with students and staff, it is never appropriate to verbally attack them for voicing their concerns. Instead, in fact, we should be listening. Teachers are often the first people who know our students and school environments the most, because they're right there in the buildings with their students every single day. And unfortunately, they can also be the last to be heard. I walk past my child during remote learning, and I am amazed at how her teacher delivers lessons seamlessly, as though she has been doing this her entire career. It's time we begin listening to our educators who hold this all together. I just want to say to any teacher listening that I hear you, that your concerns are completely valid, and I support you. The board themselves as a whole do not want to go into the same buildings with 15 people for a few hours that they just voted last week to send all teachers and students into full time. It is not enough to say thank you for all you do to support our children every single day. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Megan, you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Megan Ianello. I'm from Kendall Park. I am a parent, but I'm also a para. I've spoken at the past 2 board meetings. I have been in the building since September 8th, first in the RLCs, and now I'm at Brunswick Acres with our students in the autism program. I spoke with a few of the board members tonight that prior to this meeting regarding the rolling back in of our students. And they assured me that they understood why the parents wanted their kids back in. But to sit there tonight and have 4 of you abstain, and I spoke to a few of you, you're not willing to sit in a meeting with 9 Board of Ed members, a few of our district administrators, and depending on capacity, maybe 20 to 30 family members. It is disappointing that you want to send everybody in. You voted for everybody to go back in, but now you're not willing to sit in a meeting. For me, it's kind of, you got our votes. You knew that a lot of us were pre-voting because we had to do mail-in ballots. You voted the way that you thought the public wanted you to, and now all of a sudden you're not standing by your convictions. You voted to send students, staff, everybody back to school, but you're not willing to sit in a meeting for 2 hours. It's disappointing. And I'm so annoyed at this point because, again, to state that safety and health protocols, we've been doing these safety and health protocols for months. Our students are doing well. I mean, I'm with children who struggle every day, and we are so happy to be back in person. You guys can sit in a meeting for 2 hours and listen to the public while the public is being live streamed for the most part, because you're not going to be able to have that many people. You guys have had the most people standing and listening, watching you guys on all these board meetings. We want to be involved. We want to hear you, but we don't need to hear you arguing and just going against what you did last week. Send staff back in, but we're not willing to do it. And so I just got to say, I'm disappointed, and I want to thank the board members who, I should thank all of you, because you have worked very hard over these last 7 months. And we recognize that. But these last 3 meetings have been too contentious to deal with. Let's get back on point. South Brunswick is a great district. let's leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Saurav.
Hi, I'm Saurav Patra, and I'm actually a junior at the South Brunswick High School. I'm the creator of the petition that was of discussion at the beginning of the meeting, and I wanted to further address the issue of screen time for SBHS students. I do understand that the bus schedule cannot be changed. I truly do. But the schedule we have in place currently is perfectly capable of being pushed back an hour and a half. The new schedule leaves just 30 minutes for lunch. 30 minutes. My classmates alongside me all believe this is simply too little time to regain our energy from the first two classes. We have 80-minute classes, 10 minutes of passing time total, and we receive 30 minutes of lunch. I simply wish that we can address this issue further amongst the board and figure out a better way to deal with the issues at hand. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Ladies and gentlemen, we are finished with public comment. Anybody else want to raise a hand? Anybody else, anything to say? All right, we got one. Prasad, you're up.
Thank you, sir. I would like to take a moment to say thank you to Mr. Federer and his team of faculties. As compared to last year's experience, this year, the entire faculty team is doing a fabulous job. Last year, there was always, as a parent, we have to intervene, but this year it is just seamless. I really appreciate all the efforts you guys have put in doing the research and selecting the tools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that comment. Last speaker of the evening, Double Talk. Akash, this is your second time. You're finished after this one.
Yeah, I want to just, my name is Akash. I'm not going to be repeating any more comments, but I'm going to state something new. So I'm going to give you a progress report. So far, my time at Rider University is going great. I am in the process of finishing my rushing period of Alpha Phi Omega. I have made it to become a non-voting general member in Rider University Student Government Association, and I'm still able to take classes at Rider University. I finished an externship at AT&T via Rider University in summer 2020, and you guys should give a round of applause for that.
Thank you, Akash. We
And happy
appreciate your
Halloween to all
comments
of you.
and good work.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our public comment.
Motion to close. Moved by Mr. Scaletti, second by Dr. Parker, all in favor.
Aye.
Moving along, board committee reports. Anybody have anything? I have a couple. Last night, like Mr. Robinson said, we had a board retreat where we had Marianne Friedman from New Jersey School Boards Association attend. We discussed board goals, and we also discussed different aspects of being a board member and such, and I think it was a very good board meeting. Also, if anyone's interested, the last facilities committee meeting is on the portal. There's also a link to the Zoom. So if you're interested in looking at that, the little further, we had a few discussions regarding our vandalism policy that was brought out regarding what happened on the baseball field, and excuse me, David talked about how the insurance company is going to pay for the rebuilding of the field, and I believe Mr. Feder already discussed how we were going to also work with the courts to pursue it from the vandal. Also, we discussed some project updates, and Todd gave a presentation regarding some drainage repairs at Crossroads, finishing stages across the district as far as the media center is concerned at Crossroads. The district office and other areas had a paint job recently, and also on Black Horse Lane on the 3rd floor. And in tonight's agenda, 1.14 is the what we are calling the waterfall project. It's to fix the roof and masonry repair on the high school, and our new architect is involved in that at this point, and it's to what I had here. Okay, it's basically opening the solicitation of the bids, filing the documentation with the DOE, and to amend the long-range planning facilities plan to accommodate that project. So again, it's on the portal, and Mr. Pulowski put the Zoom meeting, so if you're interested, you can watch the entire meeting. Thank you. Dr. Parker, go ahead.
Just to let the board know that all of our staff, our units, contracts are up next June 30th, and the negotiating committee is beginning the planning and preparation phase for that.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. Can I get a motion to approve the action items on the consent agenda for this evening, October 29th? Can I get a motion? Moved by Mr. Patel, second by Mr. Keener. Roll call, please.
Patrick Del Piano,
Yes.
Mr. Raymond Keener,
Yes.
Mrs. Joyce Mehta,
Yes.
Dr. Stephen Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Devin Patel,
Aye.
Mr. Arthur Robinson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti,
Yes.
Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Moving to board comments and communications. Mrs. Rogers, go ahead.
Yes, I need to make a clarification that was stated earlier. First, I appreciate the comments that were made by the public, but my name was provided inaccurately, and I just want to set the record straight that I actually did in fact vote to move back board meetings. So I just, my name was stated inaccurately, and I needed to clarify the record. Thank you.
Anybody else, any comments? Mrs. Mehta, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to let everybody know that the South Brunswick Commission on Women, we held our domestic violence walk at Reichler Park on the 18th of October, and it was hugely successful. We actually collected 20, 30, 40 boxes of toiletries and other things, and gift cards and all sorts of other things that we then gave to two domestic violence agencies, namely Women Aware and to Women's Space. They came to collect those, and to let you know that you can actually see the walk and see everything virtually if you go onto the link, and if you hashtag any post or video that you have in support of domestic violence, and hashtag it with SBCWDV walk. That would be greatly appreciated, but it was a huge success. Just wanted to give a big shout out to everybody, all the commissioners and volunteers on the South Brunswick Commission on Women, and to everybody, to all the community who helped us make this a huge successful event for the education and empowerment of all survivors. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Mehta. Anybody else interested in speaking? Okay, I'm just gonna say one thing. The purpose of what we do is to, when we have discussions, is to have discussions in public. So the board can hear other board members' opinions, and we can also listen to the public. You know, we've, in years past, going back however long, we've been beaten up before about not discussing and just coming out and voting yes on something and doing things privately. So, you know, we did tonight, as we did have done in the past in the last year, is to continue to discuss it among board members and try to come up with a consensus or a vote. And that's what we did this evening. I also want to bring up an issue that came up last night. And I have to say that, you know, I want to thank Scott, Jen, Kim, and David, and the board, because within the last year, we've done more with committees, and the form we use for minutes and everything we've done as far as the committees are concerned, and the hard work our senior staff has done to keep those committees together, and the discussions in committees eventually come out to the entire board. And again, I have to say, you know, in my 18 years, the last year has been probably the most productive and most transparent board that we've ever had. So I want to thank everyone. I know Halloween's coming up. I have no idea how anyone's going to do that. You know, I've heard different things about putting a table at the end of the driveway or putting your bowl out, and that normally doesn't work because I've done that before, and in about a half hour the bowl is gone. So, you know, someone said today to me they're gonna stand outside with a mask and throw the bags at their kids. So I thought that was pretty bad. So, however it is, I want to wish everybody a happy Halloween. November 3rd is election day. So if you didn't take the means to vote in by absentee ballot or mail-in ballot, you do have the option to still go to the polls and vote. And I hope you do that. Whoever you're going to vote for, I still believe in that, and I wish you would go out if you haven't had a chance. So I'd like to get a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion.
Mrs. Meadow, second by Mr. Keener. Mr. Pulaski, what? You had a question?
I think we may be moving into an executive session.
No, there's no executive, right?
Not tonight.
We're
Got
not
it.
doing one
Okay.
tonight. Yeah.
Ready for the motion to adjourn.
Okay. It was moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Good night, everyone. Have good night, South Brunswick, and please be safe. Thank you.